Good evening and welcome to election 2014. Tonight is the third in our series of live debates in the lead up to the coming general election. Election fever is well underway. Political parties are busy releasing their policies on a near daily basis in an effort to differentiate their parties and woo you to vote for them. The question I ask each week is how well do you, the viewer, know your candidate, what they have to offer from a personal and party perspective, and most importantly, how effective will they be if elected to represent their electorate in the next government? Each week on election 2014, we're joined by a panel consisting of candidates who are seeking to represent their respective electorate in the coming term. We discuss the issues that are affecting their specific electorates and the wider Canterbury region. Our aim is to give you, the voter, more information about your candidates, the parties they represent, all from the comfort of your own home. We want you to be aware of the major issues in your electorate and what candidates propose for these when you go to vote in a little under 4 weeks. Last week we heard from candidates seeking to represent the Port Hills electorate and discussed the Littleton Port Recovery Plan, the economy in the electorate and post-earthquake recovery. There was, how would I best describe it, healthy disagreement between the parties. It was good and it showed the passion of the candidates in the lead up to polling day. This week we are looking at the Christchurch East electorate, which encompasses an area which was hit repeatedly hard by the earthquakes. The area is a Labour stronghold and specifically the seat was held from 1999 until last year by Leanne Dalzell, who vacated the seat when she ran successfully in the Christchurch mayoral elections. The seat went to a by-election and was won by Poto Williams, and it's with pleasure that I welcome sitting MP and Labour candidate for the Christchurch East electorate, Poto. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks very much.
I also have pleasure in welcoming the Conservative Party candidate for the Christchurch East electorate, Leighton Baker.
Thank you.
Leighton, thanks for coming on the show.
Cheers.
I also have pleasure in welcoming Mojo Mathis from the Green Party, List MP. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Good evening.
And finally, to close the lineup up, I would like to welcome Joe Hayes, representing the National Party, as the candidate for the East electorate. Thank you. So, to be consistent with last week's format, I would like each candidate to tell you about themselves at a personal level. Talk about their experience and their alignment with the party that they represent. Each candidate will have about 2 minutes, and tonight I'm going to start with the sitting MP for the electorate, Poto Williams. I'll sound the bell with about 30 seconds to go.
Right, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity to put my views and my party's views to the public on what is going to be a very important election for our country. My professional career has been in the community sector, including in mental health and family violence, working with people who are at the most difficult situations in their lives and supporting them to recover. The biggest single concern for all of us is inequality, and I don't just refer to poverty. I talk about how out of balance our economy and society are in terms of being able to access what we need to take advantage of the opportunities to lead productive lives. And by this I mean access to affordable housing, decent education for our kids, getting to the doctor when we need it and being able to afford medication that the doctor prescribes, a fairer distribution of the country's wealth and enough work and pay to take care of your needs and your family's needs. Inequality impacts on us all, not just those considered in poverty, and all of us and all of our children are at risk of the social harm that inequality brings. The strength that I bring as your Member of Parliament for Christchurch East is a strong grassroots community focus and an understanding of what communities need to recover. And in the last 9 months as your MP, I've supported you case by case, your EQC issues, your housing issues, your concerns with WINS and immigration and ACC and other government organisations. We've done a lot, but there is much to do. And I would like to say that along with my Canterbury colleagues, we have developed the Kickstarting the Canterbury Recovery Package. It's a positive way forward to resolve all the outstanding issues, build affordable homes and give practical support to you. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you very much, Poto. I'd like to now hear from Mojo, please.
Good evening. I'm Mojo Moses and I'm then campaigning for the party vote in Christchurch East. I'm number 9 on the Green Party list and I have a background in conservation ecology and I've campaigned for many years for clean rivers and protection for our environment. Last election, I made history when I became New Zealand's first deaf Member of Parliament and the 5th in the world. I've used my voice in Parliament to speak out for the rights of disabled people and to push for an accessible Christchurch. Christchurch has a golden opportunity to become the most accessible city in the world, and I am determined to do everything I can to make that happen. I live in Christchurch and I have lived through both the earthquakes. I know what it's like to deal with EQC, the insurers, builders, but I also love Christchurch, and I especially love New Brighton, the beach, the rivers, the pier. And I'm campaigning for the party vote for the Green because we have a plan for a cleaner, smarter, fairer New Zealand. We will make all of our rivers safe to swim in, not just to boat on. And we will keep our beaches clean from oil spills. We will ensure that every child is better off by investing in warm, dry home housing and also taking the steps that is necessary to tackle poverty and extending free doctor's visits to teenagers under 18. We will support an economy that works for everyone by investing in innovation and smart transport. We love Christchurch and we have a plan to make it a wonderful city for everyone.
Thank you, Mojo. Let us now hear from the Conservative Party candidate, Leighton Baker.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Leighton. I'm married. I've got 4 children and 3 grandchildren. I'm a builder by trade, project manager. I'm an employer and I've got about 8 guys working for me. I've been working in Christchurch for 20 years and straight after the earthquakes, my guys and I came into Bexley. We dug long drops and short drops, fixed people's houses, helped people have more safety in their houses. One lady we met actually been sitting in front of her door for 2 days, she couldn't shut it. So we've been there in the earthquakes. After the February earthquake, obviously all builders got really busy. We've helped with people with their claims, with getting fair negotiation with their insurers, and then working with the rebuild both residentially and commercially. As far as my experience goes, I did campaign for the Conservative Party in 2011 and then last year also in the by-election. We doubled our vote, which was great for us. So why am I standing and why am I standing for the Conservative Party? My big thing is democracy. In New Zealand we get to vote every 3 years and in between that time we really have no comeback on the government. I want to see that change. I don't believe that's a healthy democracy. If I ate broccoli once a year, it wouldn't make me a vegan, and voting every 3 years does not make this a democracy. I believe that you, the people of New Zealand, need to hold the government to account within that 3-year period. And our policy of binding referenda does just that. It's not directly controlling the government, it's just saying, hey look, here's a line, before you pass a law or before you change how New Zealand operates, make sure you have the backing of the people of New Zealand. And I think that's good, healthy democracy. Now one of the other policies I really like is our tax policy. What we're saying is it's really hard to make a living, and if you have to go out and do a second job and pay secondary tax, it's even harder. So we say your first 20,000 tax-free and a flat rate after that. You can do a secondary job and still pay the same amount of tax. How that works, at the moment the government takes your tax off you and then redistributes it. We spend a lot of money in redistribution. We can actually get rid of that, we can shrink the size of government and we can close the loopholes that make big companies get away with it. So that's my goal and my plan for Christchurch. Thank you.
Thank you, Leighton. Finally, it's time to hear from National Party candidate Jo Hayes.
Kia ora and kia ora Christchurch. I'm really pleased and very proud to be standing in the Christchurch East electorate. My whakapapa is to Ngāi Tahu through a man by the name of Paraurangi. I am of Ngāti Parau descent and his brother was Tahu Pōtiki. So that's my whakapapa to Ngāi Tahu. My work experience, I come from a health background, a health, social services and education background. My health sector experience has been in health auditing, New Zealand Business Excellence Foundation for the Health Awards, and both of those experiences have brought me here to Christchurch on numerous occasions. I believe that this government has been doing a very good job post-earthquake in supporting Christchurch. We have invested $15.4 billion in growing in the rebuild of Christchurch. Just recently, we announced our housing policy for those who want to buy their first home, up to $20,000 additional. I come with a strong voice for Christchurch. I come for a strong voice for all communities. I have that experience. I entered our party in 2009. I stood in the Dunedin South electorate in 2011. As many of you know, Dunedin South is a very strong Labour area, and I won the party vote the first time in the history for the National Party. I entered Parliament at the beginning of this year with my maiden speech on the 28th of January. I am very pleased to take my strong voice for the community to Parliament. The other areas that I stand for is achievement for hard work. I come from a family that has always been farm labourers. We have worked very hard. Our family has not been a wealthy family. We have been quite a poor family, and we've worked very hard. My parents educated us, and I believe that education will set you free. We are investing a large amount of money in the education precincts in Christchurch East at the moment. My last one is personal responsibility. In my family, we took personal responsibility to do the things that we've done and we have achieved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's time for us to take a short break. When we return, don't go away, we'll be talking about infrastructure in the east or the lack thereof. Thank you. Welcome back to Election 2014, where we are distilling the important issues for the Canterbury region in the lead up to the coming general election. Before the break, we learned about the candidates at a personal perspective, their alignments with the parties they represent. Now let's look at the important issues facing the electorate. We are going to look at infrastructure, or the lack thereof, one may say. The eastern suburbs is been hit hard. Roads remain broken and in a worse state than many roads in the western suburbs or the central city. Riverbanks are still flooding, and 3 years on, roads remain protected by sandbags that line the Avon River. Demolition of the red zone is slow, and many homes acquired by the Crown are remaining a location for arsonists, burglars, taggers, and more recently, a group of German tourists who freedom camped and defecated in a red zoned house. I'm going to start with Joe Hay and ask a blunt question. Are you happy with the progress in the infrastructure rebuild? And has the Prime Minister or the other ministers who are senior in the government been down the Pages Road roller coaster and seen the state of the assets in the area?
Thank you for that question. I'm not sure if they've all been down Pages Road. Mm-hmm. I know that there have been a few of them that have gone down. Today we had Paula Bennett come down Pages Road. Yep. And comment about the changes and the changes that are happening down there and the way that the infrastructure is being repaired, and it is taking a long time, and I do realise that. We've got to understand that, an earthquake of this magnitude in our city here has been something that nobody ever bet on or thought about, and so therefore this government has been working very hard with the City Council to make sure that we start getting the infrastructure up and moving, getting Christchurch running. Like 355,000 kilometres of roading so far, 94 bridges. We're working very hard. Yes, sometimes we'll make a mistake, but we learn from our mistakes and we will carry on.
Now, it wouldn't be fair to ask that question with asking Poto what would be different under a Labor government?
Well, for us, it's a good thing that Joe mentions bridges, because there's a couple of bridges. The Bridge Street Bridge, for example, which has taken an extraordinary amount of time to repair. For us, we would really actually go back to the source and actually have some really good conversations with the Christchurch City Council, with Skirt and with Sarah, because let's face it, there are some things that happen even in terms of infrastructure, the horizontal infrastructure where roads are being torn up to put in one line of service and then they're patched over and then they're torn up again. There is a real lack of coordination that I think we really need to deal with.
But would you make a difference there? Would there be a process to make a difference?
Absolutely, because I think there are a couple of handbrakes. I think the Sarah is one of the handbrakes, and I don't say that lightly because it was the organisation set up to actually support the recovery of the city. And I think that actually we need to return a lot of the democracy back to people and actually get them engaged in the discussion. There's no secret that there is a relationship deficit between central government and the Christchurch City Council, and that needs to be resolved really quickly as well for us to actually have a voice and have a discussion about what needs to happen. Now, I do want to counter that by saying that yes, the earth is still moving out in the east, and it was potentially the most significantly damaged. There's a lot of work to be done out there, but I think when the local people see roads being continually torn up and a lack of real coordination around it, they get really, really concerned.
Mojo?
I would largely agree with Poto. Basically, the feeling in Christchurch is that it's been left behind relative to the rest of the city. That the roads and the red zone areas are a mess. And frankly, after 3.5 years, it's getting people down, they're feeling depressed. And so what the Green Party are committed to is working with the council because, of course, at the moment, financially, the council is constrained by the anchor project and the financial commitments it's made in that area. And what we would like to see is more flexibility in the arrangements with the council so that they can postpone the anchor project to a later date and prioritise the rebuilding of the road and infrastructure and suburban recreational facilities and so on, so that people can get on with their lives before they sort of die from sort of a feeling of being abandoned. We are also committed to getting Christchurch moving again, so we want to invest $462 million in Canterbury Transport and setting up a new Canterbury Transport Agency to get Christchurch moving again, and that will include significant investment in specific roading projects.
Can you balance the books to afford that investment?
We have released our fiscals. We have said exactly where all the money is coming from to pay for every financial commitment we've made.
Leighton, your view on the infrastructure and the assets?
Oh, look, you've got 1 million metres of road to be replaced, and under every single road is sewer pipes and drainage pipes, power and electrical. These guys that are working there every day in the freezing cold with live sewage running past them. It's the most horrible, grotty job, and they've got unstable ground around them, around other services, and people driving past them all the time. So I think, first off, we need to acknowledge a huge amount of work that the average guy's putting into getting it right. So, but we need to actually have, I agree with Mojo, we need to have a concerted approach to this. So we need to, at the same time, while those roads are being repaired and those sewer lines, we need to actually fix our arterial routes. So we need the bypass that comes off the Northern Motorway and diverts onto Johns Road. That has to be sorted out to ease the traffic flows. We need to get the road down through QE2 widened and get the traffic flowing there just to get people moving down those main arterials to and from work more quickly. Then you'll get a better result from people working. But all Cantabrians need to be respectful of the real hard work that's going in by the workers in the roads.
I hear you on that, but some of the key infrastructure, say take the arterial road, the Anzac Bridge, that still has not been repaired. Now, you've got truck drivers that are telling me, directly when I was preparing for the show, that they can't take trucks down there and they're not wanting to because of the way that there's a sharp angle into the bridge. Now, these are key assets that there's a lot of other assets being repaired. The question I would say, and the feedback that I've had, is it's been slow to repair assets in the east.
Yeah, well, there's no one actually sitting around this table that has influence at the moment being able to sit down with the council and with the roading infrastructure and say, what is the whole length plan? Because that's what it takes. I mean, the project management, you look, what is the end result we need? Where are we now? And what is the most efficient way to get there? And that's the approach we have to have. I mean, the suspension of my car is probably the same as these ladies, absolutely shattered from driving down those roads. But a coordinated, structured approach that takes it on a whole lot of areas at once. So instead of sort of, we see one thing done slowly and we get on to another, if we have a whole lot of areas happening at once, we'll get a lot more movement happening.
I think too that a part of the issue is that why we feel so abandoned is that the state of the roads actually prevents people from coming, and people just don't come out to the east unless they absolutely have to or they live there. And I think that's a real big concern, particularly when we look at the fact that our economic base has disappeared from the wider eastern area. If we don't get people coming back to particularly areas like New Brighton, you know, we as you know, retailers in the commercial sector, it's going to die.
We'll hold that one because it's time for us to take a break, and when we return we will be talking about the economy in the Christchurch East electorate and ask the candidates what they're going to do to reinvigorate it. Thank you. Welcome back to election 2014. Before the break, we heard from the candidates on the assets and infrastructure in the East. I would now like to talk about the economy and how it affects the East electorate. New Brighton Mall, it would be kind of called a wasteland at the moment, with many shop sites vacant and 3 years on showing little prospect of redevelopment. There is major concern that we're in an area which is on coastal, we're on the coast. There isn't the economic activity that there should be. And I think, but the other side of it is, there's reasons for that because there's obviously been a change in the in a lot of people living there, and there's been a change in the numbers, so it's defendable. What is on offer? And Poto, I'm going to ask you, under a Labor government, what will we see for economic redevelopment? Okay,
well, we've been really clear, Tim, about our commitment to New Brighton. During the by-election and again for the general election, we've made a commitment to New Brighton through saying clearly we will support the revitalisation, we will support council in the master plan. What's happened really is that we have had lots of master plans for New Brighton, but the missing ingredient has been central government commitment. And we're saying we will set up an urban development authority, and we will also commit from our Kiwi Build program between 200 and 500 homes to go into the New Brighton area. I know from having spent quite a bit of time, I mean, my office is right in New Brighton, so I'm there a lot, and I hear a lot of the plans for the New Brighton area, and we're very, very supportive of the changes that council are wanting to make to zoning, to change the configuration of the mall, to take a better consideration of what might happen with the easterlies coming through, you know, change the configuration, reduce the actual size, and actually support local businesses and community to develop the mall and the New Brighton area. It is the most beautiful part of our region. We're lucky we've got the coast and we've got the estuary, so there are lots of opportunities to bring people in, whether it's around ecotourism or whether it's taking advantage of that coastline.
Joe, there's been insurance has probably had quite a bit to do with the slowness of it, so I don't think it certainly has been a key component. In the next term, if it's under a national government, what will we be seeing there for support and growth of the economy within the East, Christchurch East?
Okay, well, a couple of things that are happening at the moment. The Minister, Jerry Brownlee, is now in discussion with the Council about looking at the plan for the whole of Christchurch area. And so he is having a discussion right now with the Council about reviewing everything that's going on. One of the things that I have noticed since I have been here is about the New Brighton Mall and the change of the aspect, and I think it would be very advantageous for that mall to have the walls out to actually prevent that easterly wind from galing up in there. But other areas that I would like to see, and that would take a discussion with my colleagues should we get back in, is into government after the 20th of September, is looking at how can we support some of the innovations that are starting to come through the Eastern Vision's online projects, some around the flat water development area, and also around, I've been discussing this with a councillor for Christchurch, around how can we bring in shops that, what do they call them, the shops that sell labelled clothing, those kind of outlet shops to the area as well. So just to try to build the economy of the New Brighton area, taking in account the beautiful Brighton Beach. I was absolutely stunned by the beautiful pier out there, and I think so much can be done now. Next year in February, you've got the Coast to Coast coming there. We've got a lot of functions happening in February of next year, and I'd like to see some things happen.
one of the questions that we'd have is that there is the blank canvas, and I think there's a time, are we going to see some more allocation of capital? Is the central government going to say, look, we actually recognise this and put some capital in there to make some of these projects come in?
Yeah, good question, and that's really a question that I would have to take back to my my senior ministers. As you know, Honourable Jerry Brownlee is the Minister for the Rebuild, and it is all part and parcel of their plan on where we go to after the 20th.
Mojo?
Well, what the Greens are committed to doing is investing $20 million into the development of the Avon River Park, because that would then connect the eastern suburbs with the central city and become a jewel in the crown of Christchurch East along with New Brighton. So definitely we develop the New Brighton Wall, but also we need to make sure that it connects it to Christchurch via the river with beautiful walks and cycleways and developments and activities all along the river. There's lots of innovative ideas, we just need to make it happen. We've committed $20 million to making that happen.
Leighton, you're in the construction side of things. You must see just a wonderful box of Lego blocks to go and build a fantastic. What would you see in the vision for the area?
Oh, I'm really excited about New Brighton. It's got incredible potential. It's got amazing natural assets. What's happened there really at the moment is a guy called Paul Zane and has worked with all the business owners, and he's got them working together. So you've got a group of business owners working together with the council to develop a plan, and they're committed to it. They want to see it happen. Business is actually starting to move there, especially the cafes and that make great coffee. They're seeing the business pick up. And as people come in, as the roads get fixed, we're going to have more and more people coming for the tourism, for those boutique shops. New Brighton died when they brought in Saturday trading legally. New Brighton was the only place doing Saturday trading. It sort of died then, but the opportunity now is it would come away as its own little place. Boutique shops, a great beach, a new layout, new facilities, the hot water pools, things like that. New Brighton is going to be the place to live in the future. I'm absolutely sure of it.
There are two things, though, that you miss here, Leighton. Firstly, central government needs to commit if we're going to revitalise an iconic community like New Brighton. And the other thing is that we need to bring people back to the community.
But it's the community themselves have got to spend money there. At the moment,
they do.
$9 out of $10 is spent outside
in
Brighton.
order to have
so the people got to come
support
in and spend
local,
the money, support themselves.
but you actually have to have a population that lives there to support local businesses.
There's a population
and that's
there.
why we will, with Kiwi build 200 homes in the area to bring people to live in the area, to actually become that economic base for
I
local
don't think
businesses.
that people should wait for the government to step in. If we're always waiting for someone else to come and hand us something, someone else to help us out.
But it can't happen without that third partner.
It certainly can. It's happening now. There's already a set of apartments happening. They're getting built on Marine Parade. And it's actually starting because of the people.
How long have we had plans in New Brighton that have gone nowhere because central government did not commit? And that's my point.
I haven't got a time frame on that.
We will only be able to push it forward if we say as a government, we're committed to this community and we're going to invest money in homes.
I think the community can make it happen.
So can I ask just a quick question around here? So will we see commitment from the Labor?
Absolutely. We've that's our policy.
Conservative?
If we had the opportunity to, fantastic.
Greens?
Commit to.
Commit to further expenditure to drive the economy?
Oh, definitely.
Yes, very much so.
Great. Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. Don't go away. Don't change the channel. When we come back, we'll be talking about post-earthquake recovery. Hello and welcome back. In the previous section, we talked about the economic issues facing the electorate, and we talked about what the various parties are going to do to invigorate, grow the economy, get some action in there. Now, we recognise that there have been constraints in the previous 3-year period following the earthquakes, but we've had an undertaking from all parties that they will be looking to drive forward and see growth economically within the region. Now, what we'd like to talk about now wouldn't be right if we didn't ask about post-earthquake recovery. Now, obviously, the area has been hit very hard. Now, there's many people awaiting resolution around flooding, around EQC, differential methodologies for the repair of their houses. There are children who have maybe 6 or 7 years old, spent half of their years growing up in broken homes. Now, clearly, something needs to be done about this. There needs to be an acceleration of the recovery in the area. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask Poto, your views on where things are at from an earthquake recovery perspective, and then some of the things you'll be looking to do in the next term to accelerate that.
Well, I have to tell you, Tim, that our office in the last 12 months has had 700 earthquake files. That's an extraordinary number of files, and they're getting more complex. So what people are coming to us for is they're at the end of their tether, really. They've been through the EQC process, or they're going through it. They haven't had a determination as to whether they're over or under cap, or they're going through the insurance process. It is way past time that we need to get people onto a process where they can get their homes repaired and they can move on with their lives. So from our point of view, what Labor has announced that we will do is that we will set up an earthquake division of the District Court where you can have a simple process. All of the costs are paid for by the insurance companies. It's a simple form to fill in. In 4 weeks you get your hearing and then you get a resolution and you get to actually get that finalisation and move on with your lives.
Can I ask you a question though? If you go to a court process and you've got experts coming in and you've just got one date to get sorted out, you can have two experts come in and they can disagree significantly over the repair strategy of a house.
It is not one date. You will have your first hearing within 4 weeks of having lodged your application. And that's a really good point that you bring up, because a lot of our folk are telling us that they're required to undertake engineers' reports and at their own cost if they have a disagreement with EQC, for example. And what we're saying is that those expert reports and fees will be covered by insurance, because we shouldn't be putting our population to the huge expense of actually trying to determine a really clear pathway forward.
Now, one of the things I think, I hear you on that side of it, one of the things I think that has been done very well though, and I would like to put forward, is that the payments to red zoned homeowners were delivered within 9 months of the February event. Now, when you looked at what happened in Hurricane Katrina, it was 22 months before similar payments were made to the homeowners, allowing them to move on. There's been, and I share the comment that Joe made before, that the scale of this has been probably unprecedented in New Zealand history. One may question whether we tried to reinvent the process for recovery rather than leveraging off this happens somewhere in the world every couple of years. So, I mean, the question I've got, Joe, there is National has delivered, it's in some area with regards to the red zone, slow to pull the housing down. What is going to be done to speed up the EQC settlements for the people who are running out of steam with EQC at the moment?
Thanks for that question. Yeah, there has been some issues around that, and some of the people that are actually contacting me directly, so I can take a privacy waiver to actually inquire about where they're up to. But at the moment, EQC has been obviously bombarded with all the claims, and so they're a little bit snowed under and they're just trying to get on top of it all. So from that perspective, it's working post-election, should we get in, it's working with EQC and the applicants and helping to forward those through.
4 years, Joe. I mean, the wheel started falling off fairly early on in this process. Wouldn't it have been better to go, Taiho, let's relook at this process? Because you're right, it was a huge scale. EQC was not geared up to deliver on the scale of this disaster. So shouldn't we have stopped and relooked at the process?
I don't think we should have stopped, mainly because there were people out there that needed the support.
They still do.
Well, so far there's 58,000 homes that have been looked after and taken care of.
You were there at that event a couple of weeks ago in South New Brighton when a certain facilitator of our meeting said to those folk out in the audience, how many of you still have EQC issues? And there was at least a dozen hands that went up. So this is not an insignificant issue.
Oh no, I totally agree, and there's a lot more to come. As I said, 58,000 EQC applications have already been processed, and we're working through making sure that we get to address everybody's issues.
Transparency of the process though, I mean, it's a large organisation, it's mushroomed from this size to this size in no time at all. But the transparency, it has to be transparent about the decisions being made, the competence level of those making them. What are you going to offer in the next term, or a commitment to drive forward to be able to speed that up? Because at the moment, people are sitting in the dark wondering what is happening to their houses.
Yeah, and I get that. And really what I offer is the point that they can come and ask me. And I can then, because I do have access directly to the Minister for the rebuild, it's about making an approach and I can move it forward. That's the commitment I make.
Roger?
We absolutely need to work with EQC to progress claims more rapidly. I mean, it's been 3.5 years now, and these people's lives have been put on hold. I know there's a feeling that those people who are most effective at lobbying to get minor repairs done got dealt with first, and those people who are living with actually broken homes and leaky roofs are the ones that have kind of had sometimes the longest time to get resolved. And as there's some people who might struggle to deal with the system, to deal with the elaborate paperwork, the EQC, the insurance. They need support, someone to stand alongside them, and they need to be in a lot more of that much earlier in the process.
There's also the RAS is also available to people to assist them in their applications and to assist their the issues that they have.
Yeah.
It's been very
Leighton,
successful.
from your perspective.
No, obviously we're going to change the system.
Them.
We're going to change the system. What happened really when the earthquakes is EQC got between the insurer and the insured. So the people had a contract with the insurer to rebuild their house if there was damage. When the damage occurred, EQC came between them, and so the people were not communicating with the insurer. What this meant is a huge blockade. If you got rid of EQC, put it to one side, didn't get rid of it, put it to one side, you ring your insurer and say, my house is damaged, come and fix it. They come and fix it, then they get EQC's payment off them. The insurer deals with the contractors and with EQC. All the home has to do is deal with the insurer, who they have the contract with.
I mean, at the end of the day, you pay your EQC levies to your insurer to be deducted to give back to EQC. What's happened is EQC has taken that lead role. The insurers have been able to hide behind it, and they've had a 2 or 3 year period where they've been able to say...
If we change it so it's you directly to your insurer, then the government has the opportunity to put the heat on the insurer and say, right, within 24 months you have to have all claims settled. They can't do that at the moment because EQC is between them, and they can say, well, we haven't heard back from EQC. So we change the system, we'll get more efficiency in the future. That doesn't help people right now. So right now I think we actually need to get some of our trained professionals from master builders and certified builders and get those guys going around and meeting with individuals that are struggling. These are guys with 20 or 30 years in the trade, and they could make good assessments. That would be ideal.
I think we've probably been assessed enough, don't you, Leighton?
Yeah,
Some people have had, dozens and dozens of assessments.
Yeah,
they actually
an
just
independent person that'll come beside you and
true.
say, okay, as a professional builder with years' experience in this area, this is what's wrong with your house. This would be a fair way forward and actually get it moving.
I can
and that's
tell
what
you, Leighton, that
I've done now.
EQC asks people to go and get independent engineering reports and then still argues with those reports. So there's something fundamentally wrong with the process.
We need to empower,
EQC.
don't we?
Getting
we
an
do.
independent report, though, is a cost that someone's got to pay for and then get a recovery from insurance. Now, you've got, and that would be probably why I think some of the claims will be settled in other areas where those reports have been got, and then you've ended up where in some areas it hasn't been. And I think, would I be right in saying that that the East is not, there are a lot of people who haven't been in a position to actually fund the external reports, therefore they are going on what EQC is telling them.
Yeah, and there is a lot of pressure from EQC. Let's face it, EQC is a government organisation. It's run by the government, so the government has a responsibility to tighten up the process. But, the EQC is under some pressure to resolve and settle these claims by, when is it? I think, April next year. And that's putting pressure on them to actually cash settle, and that's actually not entirely appropriate for some people who actually, they will need more than that cash settlement to repair their homes.
We need to go to a short break. When we return, we're going to ask the candidates, and this time they're going to be talking from the party perspective. They're going to tell us what they're going to do if they're elected, and they're also going to tell us the issues that will keep them awake at night. Welcome back to Election 2014. This evening we're talking with candidates looking to represent the Christchurch East electorate. Before the break, we heard from the candidates on post-earthquake recovery and what they would propose to do about areas, about recovery of the area. And we also talked about the earthquake, and we talked about the way that the earthquake recovery has gone on. So now we'd like to look at what we will do if elected in the next 3 years, and what issues will keep you awake at night. Now I'm going to start, Leighton. Cool.
I guess why vote for Leighton Baker and why vote for the Conservatives? We're just a group of average Kiwis that want New Zealand to be a great place to live. We're committed to democracy, we want New Zealanders to have a say in how the country's run, and we want the House of Representatives to be just that, a group of people representing you in Parliament. We want a fair justice system where the victims of crime are actually recognised and where hard work is for all people, including prisoners. We want a fair tax system, your first $20,000 tax-free with a flat rate after that, where you actually get the reward for your work. And we want a system where all New Zealanders go forward together, where settlements are settled fairly and justly and timely, but then like an great all black plaque, we as a country move forward together to achieve great goals. We believe in an awesome New Zealand, and if you do too, we encourage you to vote for us, the Conservative Party. Thank you.
Thank you, Leighton. Mojo?
Well, I would ask what kept me awake at night, and actually it's all these hundreds of emails that I'm getting that I haven't replied to yet keeps me awake. But more seriously, this election is a very crucial one. National policies have put our kids and our environment at risk. When 1 in 4 kids is growing up in poverty, and when our rivers are becoming too polluted to swim in, something is seriously wrong. The Green Party has a clear plan for a cleaner environment, a fairer society and a smarter economy that works for everyone. We will make all our rivers clean enough to swim in, and we will keep our beaches clean from oil spills. The Green Party is also committed to a greener, fairer, smarter Christchurch. We will restore democracy and restore your right to vote for the regional council, and we will return power back to the Christchurch City Council so that it can get on with working for the people of Christchurch, and so that the voice of the people of Christchurch can be heard clearly. We will support local communities and businesses, and we will get the city moving again. We have established as a major party. We have stable leadership and have consistently led with fresh thinking and innovative ideas for solving the problems that face us today. Now more than ever, the Greens need to be in government to get a fairer deal for Christchurch and to protect our environment. If you love Christchurch too, make sure you're on the rolls, make sure you vote, and party vote Green this election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mojo. Poto?
Well, what keeps me awake at night is people sleeping in cars and children with not enough to eat and elderly people still in broken homes waiting for their repairs. I believe it's an absolute disaster for our people and our community if there is another 3 years of the John Key-led government. Our most vulnerable have been and will be far worse off under National. We need to take a positive approach to building our economy where people pay their fair share, an economy that provides real opportunities for people to get ahead. Labor cares about people, it cares about work with decent pay, it cares about affordable homes, and it cares about when you rent your home that it's warm and dry. Labor cares about families with new babies, and with our Best Start package we will help you get an extra $60 a week. Labor cares about how much you pay for your power, and with NZ Power we can save you up to $300 annually on your power account. Labor cares about your health and wants for you to be possible to access your GP and get the meds that you need. And we will make GP's visits for the over 65s, the under 13s and pregnant mums free. Labor cares about Canterbury, and we want to restore democracy to the region by holding ECAN elections in 2015. And we'll provide an earthquake division of the District Court so you can have your earthquake insurance EQC issues resolved, your homes repaired, and you can move on with your life. We want our kids to have a world-class education, access to the latest technology and better access to their teachers by reducing class sizes. And we want to support you to scrap the school donation by paying $100 directly to schools who will participate in the scheme. We'll restore funding to 100% qualified early childhood centres and bring back student allowances for our postgrad study. And Labor supports our young people by ensuring every student, when they leave school, will have a plan for their work, for further education or for training. And I want to continue to work hard for you in the electorate. I want to be your community representative, to voice your views and your concerns and follow through on those things that are important to you. So I'm seeking your support to be your Member of Parliament for Christchurch East. And furthermore, I want us to have strong, stable government, so I want you to give your party vote to Labor.
Thank you very much, Poto. Jo?
Thank you. So what keeps me up at night, what keeps me awake at night, and for me it is the housing issues that are facing the Christchurch East electorate. So if elected, I will have that firmly in my sight. The National Party announced on Sunday the new housing package that's going to be available for those on KiwiSaver. That is up to $20,000 for first-time home buyers, $20,000 for new homes additional. They've also said that we're freeing up the ability to use the KiwiSaver for those that have been in KiwiSaver for over 3 years. So they can access their funding as long as they leave $1,000 in their KiwiSaver, so they can use that and invest that in their new home. So we're freeing up the ability for new families who want their first home to be able to access that fund so they can start building their dream home. That's going to affect about 90,000 people in this country. So our 4 key priority areas from our government has been rebuilding Christchurch. Right, Christchurch rebuild will always be a focus for us until we have completed all the work that we have set out to do alongside of the Christchurch City Council. The economy, without building a strong economy, and we have done that since we have been in government for 6 years. When we came into government, we came into a recession, essentially. There was a deficit in our coffers of $20 million plus, and we needed to be able to haul that back. Let's move forward. We had the 2 earthquakes, we had the Pike River mine, tragedies that no government plans for. Yet throughout it all, yes, we borrowed money. We had to borrow the money so we could rebuild your Christchurch and take care of all the other infrastructure requirements needed in this city. When it comes to education and health, we are investing in Christchurch East. The Aranui Education Precinct is going to be an absolute amazing precinct based out at Aranui, and I visited that school and met with the Establishment Board of Trustees. It's a very exciting time for that area. When it comes to health, we're building Christchurch. We're looking at extensions to the Christchurch Hospital and the Burwood Hospital. We aren't leaving anything unturned. This is a government that is responsible with your funds, with your money, with your taxpayers' money, and we will continue to do that. On the 20th, when you go to the polls, you look at the history that we have made over the last 6 years at responsibly managing our country, and now we're one of 5 OECD countries with a strong economy, and that has been through good management, excellent planning, and I encourage you that come the 20th, you party vote National and party vote Joe Hayes, because we will continue to look after the Christchurch East area.
Thank you very much. That's been great. Tonight we've heard about a lot of offers for the area, and there's obviously a lot of party promises being put out there, and it'll be up to the voters now to work out how they're going to be funded, which ones will be implemented, and it'll be up to you to decide. Now, in wrapping up, I would like to thank the panel for joining me. Labor MP and Party candidate Potter Williams, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our Conservative Party candidate Leighton Baker.
Thank you.
Roger Mathers, you're the Green Party candidate and List MP and National Party candidate Joe Hayes.
Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Now, next week, we'll be looking at the Christchurch Central electorate, when I'll be joined by National Party MP and candidate Nikki Wagner, Labor Party candidate Tony Milne, Green Party candidate Mike Cook, and the New Zealand First candidate Dr. George Abraham.
Conservative Party, Mike Cook.
Sorry, Conservative Party Mike Cook. Sorry, Conservative Party Mike Cook. My correction, thank you. See you next Tuesday, 7 p.m. on CTV for election 2014.